This is LSAT Prep Test 139, Section 3, Passage 4. This is the Calvaria Major passage, the rare tree supposedly linked to the dodo. This is a science passage. The hook is a hypothesis that sounds brilliant, but doesn't survive the last paragraph. Difficulty level here is medium. The passage here introduces a flashy theory, builds it up, and then knocks it down. The main point is that Temple's hypothesis connecting the tree's decline to the dodo's extinction is creative, but the evidence doesn't back it up. Now, the most important paragraph here is paragraph 4. That's where the author finally stops being polite about Temple's work. If you skim it, you're going to overestimate how much the author buys the hypothesis. Now, paragraph 1 is the background. You want to move through it at a steady pace, but don't linger. Calvaria major is a rare tree on Mauritius. The dodo lived there also and went extinct about 300 years ago. Temple, an ecologist, noticed something. He could only find 13 of these trees, all of them estimated at over 300 years old, and none were reproducing. The timeline matched. The dodo disappears, tree stops making new trees. So he proposed a connection. And your only job here is to register that this is Temple's claim, not established fact. The author is just setting the table. Now, paragraph 2 is Temple making his case. And this is where the hypothesis gets its charm. He thought the fruit had evolved these incredibly thick pits because dodos ate them. The dodo's gizzard would grind the pit down, and that abrasion was the thing that actually let the seed sprout. Without the dodo, the pit was too tough, the seed couldn't break out. Temple called it lethal imprisonment. It's a great phrase, very dramatic. And that is the point. Notice how vivid his language is compared to how the author frames everything else. The author is just presenting Temple's argument here, not co-signing on the argument. Now, you can move through the specifics here pretty quickly because the details matter less than the shape of the claim. Now, paragraph 3 is where most students go wrong. It looks like it's strengthening Temple's case. He ran experiments. He fed pits to turkeys. 3 seeds germinated and he felt vindicated. But the author is not impressed. I mean, look at the language here. Right at the top, the author says direct proof was unattainable. Then Temple's extra work only lent his argument a semblance of rigor. A semblance of rigor, not rigor itself, just the appearance of it. And the author says Temple saw the planted seeds as vindicating his hypothesis. That is the author keeping distance. If the author agreed, you would have seen something like confirmed or demonstrated. Instead, you get he saw as. That is the author saying Temple believed his own results, not that the results were actually convincing. If you miss those signals, you're gonna think this paragraph is support, but it's not. It's Temple celebrating while the author just watches. Now, you want to slow way down here for paragraph 4. This is where the passage lands. 2 researchers punch holes in Temple's whole story. First, you've got Strom. She is the foremost expert on Calvaria major, and she found hundreds of young trees. Hundreds of them. Temple said the species was not reproducing. Strom showed it was. And that one finding guts the entire premise. Then Speak ran his own research and found that enough seeds germinate without any dodo involvement to keep the species alive. And so the reproductive crisis Temple built his hypothesis around may not even exist. And then the author does something smart right at the end. Instead of just saying Temple was wrong, the passage offers a different explanation. The decline could be from disease and damage caused by non-native animals introduced to Mauritius over the past few centuries. And that alternative matters because it redirects everything. The problem, turns out, might have nothing to do with the dodo at all. Now, here is the key move. The passage is built on a gap between how good the hypothesis sounds and how weak the evidence actually is. Now, Temple's story is elegant. A tree and a bird co-evolved, linked in life and death. It's the kind of thing you want to be true. And the test is counting on that. The hardest questions here are going to target whether you separated your feelings about the hypothesis from what the author actually concludes. Now, the author's stance is clear by the end. Temple's idea is creative, but probably wrong. The main trap is treating the passage as a celebration of clever science. It's more like a cautionary tale about a hypothesis that ran ahead of the data. If you picked up admiration for Temple's ingenuity, you read the tone of paragraphs 2 and 3, but you missed paragraph 4. Students who make that mistake will pick answers that are too generous to Temple on main point and author attitude questions. Before you get to the questions, you want to check yourself on these 3 things. First, why does the author specifically mention that Strom is the foremost expert? Second, what does a semblance of rigor tell you about the author's opinion of Temple's experiments? And third, why does the passage end with non-native animals instead of circling back to the dodo?